We will freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, make the slowest buses like the ones right here fast and free, and finally deliver universal childcare to each and every New Yorker.
Free, free, free. New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, and particularly his rent freeze pitch in New York City, is catching fire with city residents who are struggling to find affordable housing. But many of his self-described socialist ideas have businesses hot under the collar and concerned. But if you think big business is the problem, listen to this. Before the Democratic Socialist rose to prominence, Citigroup was working on the housing problem. To date, Citi has financed 34,000 affordable units, not just in New York City, but across the United States.
Okay. Obviously, right out of the gate, this is a lot to unpack. We're just going to take our time and dissect it piece by piece. But, ooh, man, I would not want to invest in New York right now. I mean, I'm following the story very closely because I want to make sure, I'm just fascinated by it for obvious reasons. But I invest in, this could easily happen in a market that I invest in, like Portland, Oregon. And I don't know how long I'll be investing there, but I do right now. But free rent, I just don't know. It sounds like they want to, or rent freeze. Is that what he said? A rent freeze? Let me go back. Hold on.
States. Joining me now, before the Democratic Socialist rose to prominence, Citigroup was working on the housing problem to find affordable housing. But many of his self-described socialist ideas have businesses hot under the collar and concerned. But if you think big business,
Each and every New Yorker.
free, free,
Free, and finally deliver universal childcare to each and every New Yorker.
free, free, free. New York
Slowest buses like the ones right here, fast and free, and finally deliver universal childcare to each and every New Yorker.
free, free, free. New York financed 34. Did something happen? Did your head?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I heard a rent freeze or something like that, but I'm sure they'll talk about it. But let me just back this up a little bit. But it's wild to me. It's wild. Obviously, I have a dog in the fight. I am a real estate investor, but I'm not looking to rake people over the coals either. But I want to be fair. This is what I was talking about in my last video, one of my last videos, that we need just a balanced market. We don't need owners getting pissed off at tenants and tenants getting pissed off at owners. We got to find some way to work together because we both need each other. There's a reciprocal relationship there. So this is bad. This will give you chills down your spine if you're an investor. It should if you're a renter too. I know most renters roll their eyes and be like, whatever, I want free rent. Well, it always comes at the cost. There's nothing for free, ever, especially from the federal government.
Bloomberg, Edward Schuyler, who now heads up enterprise services and public affairs at Citigroup, and just met with candidate Mamdani. Did something happen? Did your head explode? I mean, what was he like?
He's very much as advertised. He's very comfortable in his own skin. He's not confrontational, but he has his beliefs, and you have to respect the fact and appreciate the fact that he tapped into frustrations throughout the primary campaign that New Yorkers are feeling as far as being squeezed in affordability. I think the issue that I see and that a lot of the business community sees is we just don't agree on the solutions.
Did you all?
And I get that. I get that 100%. People are frustrated and people are squeezed. On the flip side, and this again, I am not talking about, and this is something I think that gets convoluted. Owners, small mom and pop owners, you got maybe a few units that you set up for retirement or something like that. They get lumped in with a lot of huge conglomerates. And this happened in Portland where they were passing legislation that affected everyone. It affected small, big, medium, large. It just, every owner got hosed. And it created a lot of animosity. And what happened is a lot of owners started raising their rent. As soon as someone move out, you'd raise your rent to the highest you can raise it to just peak the market. And you would send out every year because Oregon is a rent control state, every year you take it to the max. Whereas I've worked on property management for almost 20 years now. I've done 10 on the commercial side and 10 on the multifamily side, 10 on the residential side, meaning multifamily, large apartments. And typically you only budget an increase of 3 to 5%. That used to be the standard for a long time. As soon as those laws hit the books, they said they did some weird calculation with the CPI and all that stuff, but they said you can only raise it. I think they capped it at it's gone up and down, but it was 8, 10, and every year they reset it, and they do their calculation to see what it's going to be, if it's going to come up higher or lower. Well, that ended up giving people on average a 7% increase every single year, which was unheard of. Now it's up to 10%, and owners are doing it because if you don't, you'll fall behind. And if you fall behind, you'll never catch up. And your expenses aren't coming down, your property taxes aren't coming down, right? The city reevaluates the property, what is it, like every other year or something like that? And it just goes up and up and up. And it's a way for them to claim more revenue, and your expenses are up, and your insurance is higher, and your take home is very little. And let's face it, we're not in it to invest for free. You do want a return on money, which is why that's always been the case with real estate for thousands of years. No one says I'm going to go in and just give it away. It's not a thing. Let's continue on.
Offer solutions, and did he listen? Was he open-minded?
I think he's in listening mode for sure, but he's made very specific, campaign promises about freezing the rent, about free childcare, about free buses, that I don't see him walking back, nor did he give any indication that he would walk back. But he's, tapping into real frustrations. But we, me and I think others want to, try to present other solutions for him to achieve his goals, because we do have a serious issue with affordable housing in New York City. In the Boomer administration, we brought $25 billion to the table, some private, some public, to finance 185,000 units during the 12 years of the Boomer administration. So it is a real issue. Some estimates say that we're short about 400,000 affordable units in the city. It's a supply and demand problem. Freezing the rent is only going to alienate the private sector and the real estate community, which actually plays a critical role in financing and developing affordable housing.
There is the belief, Ed, that at least
All of that is very true. If it's one thing that we know, maybe you don't, but I grew up, my family had Section 8, and I can tell you right now, and this was back in the day when it was like the projects, and the government was responsible for that. They do not do a good job of maintaining the property. It's always in the worst part of town, highest crime rate, and a lot of deferred maintenance. Can't get anything done. So I don't know. There has to be a better solution, and I feel like there's an easy solution. I don't know why they make it so hard and so complicated by pinning us against each other. I hate that.
on behalf of some real estate developers, that making affordable housing is a no-money solution, that they don't really make much money on those. Is that true?
I don't think that's true at all. And there are some very successful real estate developers, I think of Waited and Steve Ross, who've been phenomenally successful by effectively using the tools of the private sector and working with banks, using tax credits, using the underwriting capabilities of entities like the Housing Finance Corporation in New York City to build affordable housing. The reason that it's affordable is because it is subsidized by the government, so that developers are going to basically offset the cost. And it's subsidized in a variety of ways, whether it's tax credits or lending, and that makes it commercially viable. That's why state programs like what we used to have in New York, 421A, programs like City of Yes that Mayor Adams has been working on over the last couple of years are really important, because it's a true public and private partnership. When it works well, affordable housing developers are running a commercial enterprise and are turning a profit.
That's a big
Well, that is true. like I said, I manage commercial real estate, and um, sometimes you get a mixed use building that has it's a 501(c)(3), which is just a nonprofit business in there for whatever organization. And when you do their CAM stands for Common Area Maintenance. Is basically every year you're allowed to, and I'm not going to get into a lot of this, but you reconcile your books every year. And if you have a nonprofit in there, well, and your property taxes, a portion of it gets offset by their portion. I know I'm not explaining that very well, but it's kind of long, and this video is not about commercial real estate. But my point is, the tax credit, nonprofit, affordable housing, all those things can be profitable if done correctly. And in the hands of investors, they will do it correctly. I've seen it done. I've worked for a company that was nonprofit, real estate company, that invested in multifamily, did a very good job. So it can be done. But, you know, the problem you run into is a lot of the areas that a lot of developers want to be in, a lot of the homeowners fight it because they don't want those those types of people living in the neighborhood. Or you know it's too, they say those properties tend to be too transient, which I, there's bad apples everywhere. I've worked on conventional, there's bad apples there, there's bad apples there. But the question you need to ask yourself is you never see these buildings in very nice affluent areas. You always see them in the hood. Don't know why that is. Maybe it's more densely populated. I don't know. But a lot of the tenants that I managed, they would have loved to be in the, not obviously not in the nicest part of town, but in a better part of town. But I don't know why that is. But let's continue.
Big if, because I talk to people. I mean, a one bedroom is 4,000, and that's an easy one. And you've got 2 or 3 people crammed in it. They put up fake walls. This is in New York City, but you start to see that Mamdani's way of thinking might be spreading, in that there are now candidates in other cities who are declaring themselves socialist and promising the same things. So on behalf of business like you at Citi, you can just show examples. I mean, you've got one area where you turned a defunct gas station in Brooklyn into affordable housing units, correct? I think we've got some video of this. Tell us how you were able to do it and what the rents,
Wow, that's
how much
impressive.
less the rents were.
So the general structure is a combination of tax credits, low-income housing tax credits provided by the federal government, a housing finance entity. It could either be a city one or a state one, that issuing bonds, and then we take the construction risk. We will issue letters of credit and essentially construction lending so that to make sure the project is complete. And affordable housing is generally in different segments. There's, among the income span. It could be, for people making $20,000 to $40,000 or $50,000 to $80,000. Sometimes it's sort of more middle class. Sometimes it's people of lesser income. And bringing all those tools to the table and working with a developer, a private sector developer, you're able to do these projects. In New York City over the last 5 years, we've financed about $2.5 billion that have led to the creation of 9,000 affordable housing units across the city. And banks, like Citi, stand by and continue to work with developers. And a matter of fact, in the tax bill that the president signed, there will be even more capacity to issue debt to finance affordable housing and additional tax credits. So cities like New York should be able to increase the amount of affordable housing they support.
Well,
I think that's a great idea. I think if they can do something like that, and they all look like that, or to some level, I think that's very doable. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it solves a problem on both ends. And you know, so I mean, I like it. There's even talk about converting commercial buildings into empty commercial buildings into residential housing. That's a lot. That can be a code nightmare, but the city may be able to fast track those permits. But I don't know. We'll see. But I like this idea. I'm gonna follow this story very closely because you guys know I like all things real estate, and I want to come up with some real life solutions, and I think it'd be good to learn from. So please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And yeah, we'll see you next time.